Hi guys, how you going? I have this afternoon been pulling apart a CV joint out of a 100 series Landcruiser. They're all the same, 100 series Landcruiser, and I could find plenty of videos about how to pull the easy part pull it apart, but I could not find any videos about how to get the difficult outside piece of the CV joint apart. So I thought I would make my first ever video and post it up, so if anybody wants to do this, save yourself a bunch of money, and it's actually quite easy if you're fairly handy. So what you want to do to get this outside part of the drive shaft apart is it needs to be solidly mounted. Don't worry about any of these surfaces here because they are not machine surfaces, they are just part of the axle. So a few scratches won't hurt them. So what I did, I've actually pulled this one apart and prepped the video up, is you clamp it up in the vise, nice and firm. Okay, I probably should have got this ready as well. So, get this clamped up, nice and hard, okay? As you can see, I've already pulled this one apart. The only way to get this piece apart, again, don't worry about scratches on here, make sure that's really tight, okay? Under normal circumstances, that's going to sit. Inside that axle is a little clip that basically holds the drive section on. So what you need to do, clamp that on, get yourself something. I used this handle, it's not necessarily ideal. A piece of brass rod would be excellent because it wouldn't damage any of your things. I don't have one. So what you need to do is knock this actual knuckle off from the inside. Again, I'll show you inside here in a minute, but I've already cleaned mine up. So it takes quite a bit of force. So if you've got a brass rod, I use this steel socket handle, as you can see, but it's a matter of banging that down, banging that down, banging that down, and it will drop off. And in here is what you end up with. Okay, this piece here, I've done the other end of this one. Like I said, there's plenty of videos about how you can do the other end. It's very, very simple. So, in here, again, okay, this section of your axle is not a machine surface. I do have some soft jaws. I am going to use them. You might want to as well, okay? So I'm going to sit this in here, alright? Now, to get this out, you need to pivot this thing around. As you can see, I've put my joint back together dry so I can disassemble it again. But this section in here needs to pivot up so that you can get your first ball out. And from there, you are home and hosed. Okay, so again, I'm using this. I wish I had a brass rod. See in there, Dom? Like in this hole. So I need to pivot this up. And as you can see, that ball is coming up. Now that ball's sitting in a position, a bit more, where I can take that ball out. Find yourself, I've cleaned mine up clearly. Okay, same thing, work your way around, there's only 6 of them, knock that thing up. So inside you got your cage and your inner knuckle. So I'm going to work my way around, again, home handyman. It would be more ideal if you can see. There you go, because there's no grease in there, yours will be filthy, be full of grease, and so you're going to make a mess. But as you can see now, the mine's clean, and I've cleaned it all out with all the grease, given it a good clean up. There you go, over she goes. Now some of them, which is a good sign that those ball bearings are quite firm inside this thing that's the cage. That means the joint's in really good condition, which it is. I just pulled this one apart because it had a broken boot on it. That's why I'm doing this. I bought a new CV shaft, put it in so that I could do all that work in one day. So there's what you got inside. So you got your cage and the inner drive knuckle which attaches to the end of your axle. And as you can see, this one's in really good nick because I can hear that it's rubbing and see that everything works. Now this is the tricky bit, okay? How does that come out? Now I've got my balls out, I need to disassemble that, okay? So it's just a matter of pivoting this up, spinning it around. Inside this is slots. I need to get that to sit up straight, if I can get my hand out of the way for you, and that then just sits in that slot and rolls out of that hole, okay? You can see I've put marks on mine now that I've cleaned it up. Very important to make sure that it goes back in the same way. It can go back in upside down. Luckily this 100 series one is two different surfaces, so you can kind of see that they're different. I still marked it just to take the idiot factor out. Now the cage. The cage, as you can see, it moves around in there beautifully. Again, just roll it up onto its side and get it in. See, you can see in here there's some grooves where the ball bearings, these ball bearings sort of run up and down inside that. So you need to get that on the lump that's between the ball bearing and get the slot, this slot, to line up with that, and it just lifts out. Again, yours is going to be absolutely filthy because it'll be covered in grease, and old grease at that. So now I've got this thing apart, okay, or I can go ahead, reassemble it with grease, put a heap of grease. This comes, so for $21 each, I've bought the inside and the outside boot kit. So it cost me $40, and I've been working up here for about an hour and enjoying every bit of it because I now know how this thing operates. And there's the boot kit. Comes with a new boot, which is why I'm pulling mine apart, because they break. It comes with the grease that you need to put it back together and the clips to tighten it down. So again, if you're half handy, I'm going to go ahead now and reassemble this with some grease, and hopefully that's of some use to somebody who owns a 100 series and wants to do this CV joint, because like I say, I'm not a mechanic. I am fairly handy. I do a fair bit of the mechanical stuff around here with all the machines and stuff like that, but I found it, you know, quite easy. And like I said, I didn't have a video to follow, and hopefully now somebody does. So again, when you go to put it back together, so here's your knuckle all nice and cleaned up. That's actually your drive shaft axle. So the slots on the side, line them up with the lump here, and it just drops into place and pivots over. Remember, two different surfaces. Okay, so that pivots over. Now, to put it back together, same as you come apart. Alright, so you need to put your knuckle in here. Remember, I've marked my top surface. So that goes down in there, just rolls into there, into the groove. You can see where it's in the groove there, and just rolls back over. I knew that'd happen. And just rolls back over into place. You might like to mark them like this. I didn't want to score mine or scratch mine, but there you go. And again, to put your ball bearings back in place, again, this CV joint is in really good nick. It just had a broken boot. So everything goes back in fairly firm. So to get your balls back in, you just pivot that up like that, line it up with the groove, pop that back in there, and poke it down. Go across to the next one, get the slot up, lined in place. As you can see, that ball bearing needs to be shoved into place because it is a really good joint, and work your way around. Again, all 6 of them. I found because once I get a couple of ball bearings in here, it starts to get really firm to move around. So again, not ideal. I wish I had a piece of brass, like a brass rod or something. And I just tapped that down and tapped it out of place. So you work your way around and start again. That's all good. Again, sort of line that up, get that in, up she comes, ball bearing in, down into place. Get everything nice and straight, drop that down, 3 ball bearings into place. Then it starts to get nice and firm. Like I said, this is because I've not got any grease going in here, it's actually quite hard to move around. And like I said, this joint is in pretty good condition. It just had a broken rubber boot on it. So tap that down. Ball bearing goes in. Not quite far enough down. There you go. And simple as that. Like I said, there's probably going to be some sort of drive shaft mechanic or whatever. I'm up working in my shed on my property, and I wanted to do this purely so I knew about how mechanically it worked. Somebody's probably going to see this and go, "Oh my God, you can't hit it with a hammer." Well, yes you can, because I've just pulled this apart. It's probably about the 3rd time. I've got Amelia, my daughter, hanging on the other end of my camera, and she's doing a great job. So, and the last ball bearing goes in, and there you go. One CV joint back together. Clearly no grease, clearly no boot. Like I need to put the boot on here, boot on there. But when you put this back together, back into the spline, you can see she works beautifully. It's really nice and firm. There's, you know, I can feel that just purely by the little bit of resistance that comes from it. And that's it. Like I say, knock it off, strip your ball bearings apart, $42 for parts, and I don't know, maybe 2 hours worth of work. And I've had a great time because now I know how to do it and I can fix it if it happens to ever break again. Thank you. Click the like, thumbs up if you like it, and any comments I'll try my best to answer. Thank you.